We are live. It is a Thursday, and I'm Rich Lieberman. This is the Bay Area Media Pulse. And I'll tell you what, be absolutely happy, lucky that you don't work at KRON. I'm talking about KRON television, the Channel 4 historical station in San Francisco, the Bay Area. It used to be quite a station, even in its really roughshod iteration as a meager independent. It had nevertheless become respected, even beat some stations in the morning, laid a little bit of some tentacles on KTVU as they continue to go into the crapper. Well, KRON's got problems, ladies and gentlemen. KRON has issues, has a identity issue, has a lack of leadership issue. They hire a new general manager. This guy seems way over his head, Maestro Flynn. And they have a newsroom led, if you can put led, probably put air quotes, by a news director who clearly, speaking of in over his head, he is a guy by the name of Josh Palevsky. But it's beyond that. KRON has been lacking in the ratings, all time slots, morning, noon, evening, 11 o'clock. There is no direction. Is that a common theme? Do I just repeat that each time? Does that seem to be a common theme, not just at KRON, but almost everywhere else? They have these nimbobs who don't know what the hell they're doing, who don't know how to rally the troops, so to speak. But it's not just KRON, it's everywhere. KRON is in the throes of really utter despair, I'm told by various sources. How bad is it at KRON? Failing ratings, lack of direction, personnel that doesn't know its way, a lack of a face of the station situation. There's rampant, and I do mean rampant morale issues. Nobody knows their roles. And their problem, among many at KRON, is the fact that the people of yesterday are the only people that are there. And they want them to leave, retire, whatever you want to call it. Vicky Liviakis, God love her, gets better looking and more creative with time. But Vicky's got issues, doesn't seem to be generating any kind of mojo anymore. Catherine Heenan, the same way. Grant Lotus, a little too blasé, apparently. And Grant's wife, Justine Waldman, as I've chronicled here, has basically lost a lot of respect at KRON. I'm not saying she's lost the entire newsroom and she's not in a position of having to execute leadership, but as somebody who was once thought of, along with Grant, her husband, as sort of a 1-2 punch, as sort of a face of station. And boy, how nice that would have been, because they're both wedded to one another. They both have been at KRON for a considerable amount of time. They were thought that they would be the 1-2 shot the mojo, replace Pam Moore as the leader of the station, so to speak. Well, that hasn't transpired. And as I just stated, Waldman has clearly lost a lot of what was once thought of as a meaningful kind of a reputation. A lot of it is not just her clothes, but her attitude, her disposition. Clearly doesn't have the it factor momentum. And Grant Lotus, as steady as he is, just doesn't have the personality, the passion. Well, he may have passion, but it sure isn't shown. How much is this impacting KRON? Get this, folks, and I alluded to this about a week ago. Perry Sook, who you'll see on the screen. He is the CEO of Nexstar, the corporate owner of KRON. Perry Sook is coming to San Francisco, and he is not a happy camper. He is not a happy camper. He is the big kahuna, the big boss at Nexstar. Nexstar is clearly unhappy with KRON. He has told people, and I'm going to paraphrase, but he's told people, he being Sook, if they don't get it together, I'm going to clean house. I'll clean house if I have to. This is a man who, by the way, not that long ago, received several million, and I do mean several million, bonus money from the Nexstar shareholders. How do you think that went over with the rank and file at various stations owned by Nexstar, including KRON? Of course, Nexstar also owns KTLA in Los Angeles, but they're a legacy station. They're still performing, and they still have the respect of the number 2 market, and that's Los Angeles and KTLA. Not so the case in the Bay Area at the news station. Now, look, have I been a critic of KRON? Of course I have. Have you seen KRON? But I've gone back and forth, folks, and I'm going to get back to Sook coming to San Francisco to clean house if he has to. But I want to talk about KRON. I respect the fact that they're not grandeur, that they're not this kind of force. They sullied themselves to the point where, okay, we're not the old KRON. Well, nothing is the old anymore. Even the great stations that used to have this charisma and this gusto and all that, nobody's really the same situation. All these competitors and streaming and local news that's not being watched, and younger demos with their stupid phones on, looking anywhere but the local news TV stations to get their news. You have to be creative. You have to think outside the box. That's any industry, but especially the broadcast industry, where all this competition is raising the radar higher, raising everything else higher. You've got to maintain. If you can't get viewers, you have to maintain the audience that you do have. KRON could have developed a niche, still can, as they call themselves, the Bay Area's news station. Well, do it. Execute a plan, Josh Pileski, the news director, who apparently doesn't have the respect of the newsroom. Have we heard that before, too? Well, Aaron Pirro used to be the news director at KRON, was celebratedly kicked out, told to go take a hike, and then some. On his DNA was Josh Pileski, the news director, who is way over his head and is losing the newsroom because nobody knows what kind of message is out there. You're the number 1, shall we say, news station? Then do it. Cover the local news. Cover San Francisco. Cover the East Bay. Cover San Jose. You know? Do what people expect you can do, not what you could do. Some of your reporters, granted, they look real young, like they just got off the bus from Fresno, and there's nothing wrong with Fresno. But you have to develop your talent. You have to work within the infrastructure that is in your house. It may not be a pretty picture. Oh my God, it is a pretty picture, which is one of the reasons why the Nexstar boss, Sook, is coming to San Francisco, and I doubt he's going to be buying lunch. He's going to meet with Maestro Flynn, the new GM. Been there about 3 months, hasn't done anything. Mr. Flynn, I know you are way in over your head, but you can do something. And not just have meetings and not just walk around like you're the general manager. We already know that. God knows the staff at KRON already knows that. You are a TV news station. Basically, Maestro Flynn, your job is to maintain the money pit, is to make sure the sales department is still selling. That's pretty much all GMs do these days at the various TV news stations, not just in the Bay Area, but beyond. And they can't even do that. You manage the sales department. You make sure that the revenue, little revenue, but still making money, is solvent, is still generating. You can't do this, that, and the other and try to be Superman. But you could be creative. You can have meetings where meetings are actually useful. Talk about things that you're going to do. Look, what the hell do you have to lose, Mr. Flynn? And I applaud you for apparently having some kind of a back chops and lineage in which you could do something, but you haven't executed yet. You apparently haven't even tried. So enough with trying to be Superman. Enough with trying to do something you clearly don't have the power to do. Try to do something you can do. After all, you're the general manager. You run the station. You meet with everybody, the news director. Although I hear Mr. Polevsky is basically on borrowed time. The only problem with that is who takes a job that is a dead-end street where they don't have enough money to hire a real news director. You can't get by on chicken crap if you want to be chicken. You can't get by on doing things on the cheap if you strive to be stronger than that. KRON, clearly you have an advantage. You have several news blocks, not the kind of news blocks you had before. That's the irony too. You might want to tell Mr. Sook, the news guy, the Nexstar guy, hey, look, because of your ownership now, we have to run certain programming, the network programming, that clearly is not hitting it off. That clearly our news blocks got better numbers when we had news almost round the clock, and now we have to go by the Nexstar. That's probably one of the reasons, too, why Sook is pissed off, because they know that KRON isn't able to run the largest amount of news shows that they could, albeit with staff that looks like they just got off the bus from Fresno. And that's not a compliment, folks. Sorry, that's just my opinion. Well, of course it is. I believe this is the first time somebody big like Sook will be coming to KRON. I will watch and observe, and those of you that continually email me my sources and get contact to me, please keep your eyes and ears open. Let me know certain things that nobody knows except you and me and the Bay Area. The Bay Area has a right to know what's going on. This used to be quite the station. Boy, have I said that a lot lately about other news organizations. But KRON clearly underperforming. KRON clearly in the dildo. Oh my God, did I say that? Sorry, I have no idea why I said that. The mildew department, the dildo. Okay, save the jokes, because talk about Freudian slippage. The mildew department, KRON. God, get your head out of your ass. And I don't want any donuts, or I don't want any Subway sandwiches, the leftovers to when Zook comes to town. He may need a dildo after me done with you guys. See you later, alligator. Dildo? Oh my